It's not yet warm enough for the plants to stay out here overnight, but it is warm and sunny enough to sit out here on the afternoon and meet with you folks. So join me with a tasty beverage of your choice close to hand while we take a look at 6 threadleaf Hoyas. And before we get underway, I'm happy to take this opportunity to send out a special thanks to Kelsey and Gwendolyn, who each bought me coffees this past week, and to Dixie, who sent me a nice little gift. Your financial support for my channel goes a long way in helping to keep me in Hoya and dischidia and other plants, technology and infrastructure, and all the things necessary to make these videos possible. So thank you all very much for your support. And before we get underway, we've got some things in bloom this week. And the first thing up is my Alocasia cuprea. Now, this has done really well for me. This is its latest leaf, which I think is just amazingly gorgeous. And that bloom, and I'll put some close-ups, either means that the Alocasia is really happy with the care it's giving, or that it's about to die and wants to have sex one time before it does. So I'm not quite sure. I'm working on the first assumption that it really likes it here. I don't have a lot of experience growing Alocasia, so I'm really thrilled about this. That could be naivete on my part. What I understand that this is the daddy bits coming through here, and in a few days we'll get the mommy bits opening up down here. And if I want to help them along, I could do that, but I'm just pleased it's growing. It's turned into this gorgeous little plant, and I really love those leaves, and that's just, I mean, wow. That's really, really pretty. For those of you who like Alocasias and want to see the back of the leaves, yeah, they're really nice. So this one's doing well. It's growing in pumice, pure pumice, and self-watering pot, and it's growing in the plant room, so it seems to like it in there. So that's very cool. And also this week, we have Hoya carnosa Wilbur Graves. And there's a peduncle opening up over here. There's a peduncle opening up over in there. There's another one inside here. I don't know if it's gonna, but that one should be opening up in a few days. There's another one opening up there. And there's 2 more. There's another one way up top here, and another little one down here. If you've been frustrated by carnosas, and they haven't, I mean, they grow for you, they grow really well, but they sometimes can take a really, really, really long time to bloom. This is one of the 2 that has just done great for me. This is Hoya carnosa Wilbur Graves, and it's just, yeah, if you want a carnosa that's going to bloom for you in your lifetime, this is one to try. It's not as splashy on these upper leaves as it was on the lower leaves, but it blooms regularly. As long as I keep up with the watering, it just keeps blooming, and I'm fine with all that. So yeah, I think the price has come down noticeably since the heyday when this was going for triple digits. I got mine as a thank you, so I didn't pay anything for it, and I appreciate that. But yeah, this has been a regular good bloomer for me. I should have already put in pictures of the close-ups of the blossoms, but yeah, this is very, very cool. Hoya carnosa Wilbur Graves. And one more that kind of surprised me, and that's my Hoya mirabilis. And it's in bloom down here. And it's loaded with peduncles. It's doing really well. I knew it was coming close. I just hadn't been keeping a really close eye on it. I knew the time was nigh. And yeah, the time nighed. So very pleased about this. It looks like it's getting to bloom on some of the others. And this little thing, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's almost a dozen peduncles on here. A couple of them have buds. Where was it? I just saw it. Yeah, there's some more coming in here. And someplace else I saw them too. Anyway, there's some others getting ready to bloom. But yeah, this is doing really well. And it's it's a favorite Hoya. So yeah, this is very cool. This is Hoya mirabilis. And the first threadleaf Hoya up today, and we're doing these in alphabetical order, is my Hoya acicularis. Now, Hoya acicularis is native to Brunei and to Sabah in Malaysia and to the Danam Valley. It was first collected in 2002 and published in 2003 in Fraterna by Ted Green and Robert Dale Kloppenberg. And as far as we've been able to tell, it's distinct from all other species that are native to Borneo, which the island of Borneo consists of Brunei, Sabah, Sarawak, and Kalimantan. But this plant is only native to Sabah and Brunei. The name comes from the Latin acicul, which means needle-like. And when you see those leaves, yep, that's what you're going to think. It's needle-like. This is done really well. This has just been a great little plant. I should have a picture of what it looked like over here when it first arrived. And that has been, now it's been just about 2.5 years. And it's put on all this new growth and is growing up a storm. It's been more fun than I thought it was going to be. Now those leaves are very, very thin, very neat. I'll put some close-ups of them on the side here just so you can see they're more or less V-shaped, long V-shaped leaves. And I'm guessing, because I didn't bring my handy-dandy measuring tape out here today, that they're measuring between, I'm going to say, 4 and 6 inches long. They're only about 1/16 of an inch wide, and I don't even know what that is in metric. Well, what it is in metric is really, really thin. But it's very, very pretty. I like the whole look of that. Now, it's growing in my standard pond setup in a self-watering pot. There are a few roots coming out the bottom, but nothing major. This winter, it grew on the bottom shelf of my short grow shelves, and that bottom shelf is above where the heat from the heating vent comes out, so it had a nice warm environment. It did okay with the lower humidity in there, but since the warmer weather has hit and the furnace is not running as much, it is doing, what are you doing there? Okay. It is doing very, very well. This is, I had to extricate this from some of the other shelves. So that's probably a foot or 30 inches of new growth just in the last couple months. It did very well over the winter. It's right now probably, the top of this plant is probably 2 feet or 60 centimeters from a grow light. And man, it's not been any difficulty. We had flat mites a couple years ago, and once I treated them, that's done fine. So it's not at all fussy, and it's just really cool. It has not bloomed for me yet, but the way it's going right now, there's a lot of healthy growth, and I expect, if I can keep taking care of it, that I might get blooms at some time. I'm just hopeful about that. I have good feelings about that. Happy thoughts, good vibes. So yeah, I just like this one. If you like this whole threadleaf Hoya look, then this is one you absolutely need to have on your list. This one came from Plant Haven, Toronto on their website, and this is Hoya acicularis. And next up, alphabetical order, is Hoya biruensis. You're probably tired of seeing this one, but I really like it. And it fits the portfolio. Now, Hoya biruensis was found in Kalimantan in Indonesia on Bukit Biru in West Kalimantan. It was first published in 2025 in the Nordic Journal of Botany by Michaela Rhoda and Sri Rahayu. And this one has been here a year this month, which is probably why we saw it recently. I think it was in bloom when I did that video. Man, this one has just done, I'm gonna do the white paper trick again. This has just done so well. Now, unlike Spartioides, which is all peduncles, this seems to alternate. And some of these things that you see are leaves. This is a leaf. And some of them are peduncles. And I'll put close-ups over here on the side so you can see the difference. The leaves are very tightly V-shaped. And I'm saying, I don't know, I gotta get my measuring tape between the next two plants. That's at least 6 to 8 inches long. And it has just been growing really well. Looking to see if there's new growth on the tip there, but it's done very well. It has bloomed. It has buds here and here, and I saw another one someplace down here. So it's getting ready to bloom again. And as long as I keep up with the watering, it does pretty well. There's a few emergent roots that have followed the wick down. It does have moisture. It's growing in a combination of my generic pon and pumice in a self-watering pot, and I have no complaints with this plant. It's just done really well for me. And it fits the bill of the thread-leafed Hoyas. So yeah, if you're looking for something interesting, this is definitely one to look for. This used to be known as species affinity Spartioides until April of last year. So yeah. That's when I got the name biruensis. But this is done really well. I like this plant. It's kind of fun. It's kind of funky. It's kind of neat. And it's done really well. And it's been no difficulties. It's in ambient conditions under the lights that everybody else gets. So it's happy with that. This one came from the North Austin Plant Company on Palm Street. And you keep an eye out for their inventory updates on Thursday nights. And this is Hoya biruensis. And the next threadleaf Hoya on the list is Hoya insularis. Now, Hoya insularis is native to Brunei and to Sabah and Sarawak on the island of Borneo, and that's in Malaysia. It was first published in 2020 in Wilde Neue Mitteilungen aus dem Botanischen Garten und Museum Berlin-Dahlem by Michaela Rhoda and Sri Rahayu. And it had originally been published in 1908 by Friedrich Richard Rudolf Schlechter as an Ananthropanthus borneensis in his Botanische Jahrbucher, but it's now been reclassified as a Hoya. Man, this one just did so well for me right out of the box. It was a nice little cutting. I was very happy with the cutting. I got it settled into pond and self-watering. And man, it just took off. And it has grown really, really well since then. It had a bit of a rough time this winter. It got a little dry in the plant room. And this one lives near the heat duct. So it probably got a little bit drier than it wanted to. But nonetheless, it did okay. I mean, it's done, it's done really well. Now I'll put close-ups of the leaves over here on the side. They are, I wouldn't quite say V-shaped, although that could work. It's almost like there's two tubes running in parallel down the length of the thing. So it's a little bit of a V, but it's rounded on the sides and kind of blunt on the ends. You really won't see any side veins or anything like that. And the blooms are really wild. And this has bloomed for me a couple of times. It'll probably bloom this summer. That's its standard operating procedure. But the blooms come out and then turn around and face into each other in a circle. And they're very neat. The blooms will sun stress. They get a little bit red on the top sides. Normally they're a very pale peach color. At least the ones on this plant have been. And this is one I don't really worry about. It just does fine. It's growing in my generic pond and self-watering pot. There's a little bit of exposed rootage, which has followed the wick down. It currently grows on the floor in front of one of my 6-foot grow shelves. And it seems to be liking it there. The leaves, and I did go and get my handy dandy, the leaves are running approximately 7 inches or just under 18 centimeters long. And I'm going to say a 1/4 inch or about a 1/2 centimeter wide. And they are very cool. They are firm, approaching rigid. They would not take kindly to being bent, so don't do that. And again, this one's been no difficulty. It's just, I think it's a really easygoing plant. It grows in ambient conditions. It gets the fallout from one of the grow shelves and the general light in the room. And other than getting a tad dry this winter, because we had some cold spells and the heat was running all the time, and the humidifier was hard pressed to keep up with it. But it survived. I lost a little bit of new growth near the top up here, but it just, once the furnace stopped running all the time, it just sparked right back up again. So I like this plant. It's fun. It's kind of neat. And for those of people who tell you that all Hoyas look alike, no, they don't. No, they don't. They're just really pretty. It's a good plant. It shouldn't be difficult to find, and it shouldn't be terribly expensive, and it shouldn't present you with any difficulties whatsoever. It hasn't for me. No issues. I would think that the leaves hold a certain amount of moisture. They're a little thick. They're very, very narrow, but there's a little bit of thickness to them, so they probably hold a bit of moisture. The vines don't get woody until they've been around for a while, so oddly enough, this might be a slightly succulent Hoya. It's just very pretty. It's very, very cool. I thought I was going to have difficulty with this one, and not even a moment's trouble. So yeah, again, if you're looking for that whole thread-leafed Hoya look, this is a good one to try and find. This is Hoya insularis, and it came from Rare Foliage Plant Co. on Etsy. Next up in the threadleaf category, I'm going to include my Hoya linearis. Now, Hoya linearis is native to Bhutan, to South Central China, to Assam and Sikkim in India, to Laos, Myanmar, Nepal, and Vietnam. And it was first published in 1825 in Contributions to the Botany of India by Nathaniel Wallach. And there's a quote that says, in Sikkim, it grows in the hot valleys from 4,000 to 6,000 feet. And this beloved plant of mine is now about 6 feet, well over 6 feet, and 182 centimeters long. And it's just so cool. It probably is a little bit warmer in the plant room than it would like, but there's not too many other places where I can put this. So that's the happy compromise I have with this plant. It is hanging about 6 feet, almost two full 200 centimeters from the floor, and the bottom of this is trailing on the floor. So yeah, it's done. It's just a really pretty thing. I can't even stand up to hold it up all the way. It's done well. It is growing in an organic mix, which is cocoa husk chunks, fine bark, pumice, and long fiber sphagnum. Someone asked recently if I cut the sphagnum up into small pieces. Not really. I might, if they're really, really long pieces of long fiber sphagnum, I will cut them in half, but I don't chop it up because those long pieces contribute to some of the airy. Remember, working for airy, not chunky. So yeah, and it's one more damn thing to try and remember to do. So I just mix it all in, let it work its magic. It's also in a self-watering pot. Oh, there's the tag. Isn't that cool? And I wondered where that had gotten to. And there's moisture in the bottom, so it's doing okay. The thing I have noticed about my organic mix and self-watering pots is that they tend to dry out more quickly because the substrate, the organic mix itself, acts as a wick. So the wick pulls up water from the reservoir, and the organic mix pulls moisture out of the wick. It does keep a nice humid environment for the roots, and it seems to like that. It would probably like it if it were a little bit cooler, but like I said, that's not a good place. There's not a good place for that in the house right now, the size of this plant. So it gets a good amount of light. It hangs on the wall between two sets of grow shelves. So it gets pretty good light the entire length of its growth. And it's just such a cool plant. With luck, I have done close-up pictures of the leaves. They are so cool. They are really, really fuzzy. So are the stems. I think I have pictures of when it bloomed for me. And the blooms are very, very pretty. It's just a really neat plant. I would like to try and start a couple cuttings again. I tried some in the fall, and it was not the best time. So maybe this summer I'll take some cuttings. I would like to try growing this in either pumice or pon and see if I get different and or better results. But yeah, this one is definitely cool. It's definitely pretty. It's definitely worth trying to find because it's just a neat plant. Mine came from Briggs in North Attleboro, Massachusetts, and this is my Hoya linearis. Number 6 on the list of threadleaf Hoyas is my Hoya retusa. Now, Hoya retusa is native to Bhutan, to Assam and Sikkim in India, and the eastern Himalayas. It was first published in 1852 in Hooker's Journal of Botany and Kew Garden Miscellany by Nicole Alexander Dalzell. And the remarks on the herbarium sheet say Ind. So something that was called India back in 1852, which could have been a whole lot of things. This is a favorite of mine. I just love the whole lacy look. Now this winter I tried something new with it, since it is something of a cooler growing Hoya, and I moved it from the plant room out into the living room, because the living room tends to stay a little bit cooler than the plant room does. And I thought it might appreciate that. And it did and it didn't. The plant room does stay cooler, but the living room does stay cooler, but the living room also stays drier. So when I saw that it was not entirely happy with that situation, I got another humidifier and set it up in the living room, which I probably should have done all along, because I have a lot of other things in the living room that would appreciate it. And there's some Alocasias and other stuff in there now that would really appreciate it. So yeah, I'm probably going to upgrade the humidifier in the living room for next winter, but this is just so pretty. And the thing that put me off on this plant for so long was every time I saw it in a plant store, it looked like hell. It looked like olive drab, khaki green, not happy. I don't know. It just was. I would look at the plant and say, oh, they want me to spend money on that? But I finally at one point thought, I can fix that. I can make it better. So I did. And it has been a wonderful growing plant for me. It has bloomed. It is very cool. It is very pretty. I like the whole look of it. I have it growing on the top of some bookshelves. They're about 5 foot tall bookshelves in the living room. And it's growing against a southern wall, so it gets nice, gentle afternoon light. I have a weight on the back so that the weight of the plant does not tip it over. It is currently growing in an organic mix. My standard organic mix, I'll run through it again. It's fine bark. It is cocoa husk chunks, long fiber sphagnum, and pumice chunks. And it has been doing well in that setup. I started it off in bark and spag in a net pot and a cover pot. And it did okay, and that's really good for plants for Hoyas in particular, when they're young and kind of small. But after a while, that mix of long fiber sphagnum and fine bark did not hold enough moisture to keep a plant of this size happy. So I moved it. I kept it in an organic mix since it came in that and it was settled in that, and just up potted it. The leaves are currently measuring about 3 inches or 17.5 centimeters long, and let's say under 1/4 inch or approximately 1/2 centimeter to 3/4 centimeter wide. I should have close-ups of them. They have kind of a double heart shape on the end. I don't know if that's what you'd call it. It's not pointy. It's like a double round. And it looks so cool spilling down a bunch of shelves. This one, I have grown it always in ambient conditions. So it's whatever the house is, which in the summertime, the humidity can get up to around 60%. In the wintertime, it can drop down to 30. Although in the plant room, I try and keep it around 45 to 50. In the living room, I'm going to try and do the same, but the living room is not a closed room, so it's a little bit more difficult. But with a little bit of patience on your part, it just will do so well for you. It's so pretty. I just love the look of that. I'm not always really good with ferns, Matter of fact, I only have one, and I was even reluctant to try that one. But if you kind of like that fern look, and it does fit the threadleaf Hoya portfolio, so yeah, this is very cool. This one also came from Briggs in North Attleboro, Massachusetts, and this is my Hoya retusa. Oops, I was wrong, and there was one more. For those of you who are keeping count at home or following along in your hymn books. And that is my Hoya stenophylla. Now, stenophylla is native to the island of New Guinea, which is the Papua provinces in Indonesia and the nation of Papua New Guinea. It was first published in 1913 in the Botanische Jahrbucher für Systematik, Pflanzengeschichte und Pflanzengeographie, or the Botanical Yearbooks for Systematics, Plant History, and Plant Geography by Friedrich Richard Rudolf Schlechter. And the name comes from the Greek stenos, meaning slender, and phylla, meaning leaves. And if y'all thought that acicularis was skinny, this is really, really, really skinny. It's just tiny. This is another one, like acicularis, has been no difficulty, no trouble. It has gotten underwatered a couple times and has bounced right back. It kept going through the winter. It was in the Hoya room and put out a lot of new growth. I mean, I had to just wrap this to get it together for this, to record this, but it had put out a couple of feet on a few vines in here. It starts with one single vine down in the bottom, but it has branched a couple times, and I think it's really cool looking. I know it's difficult to see, but I think it's kind of cool looking. I should have close-ups of the leaves because they're going to be difficult to see like this, but they are decidedly a V shape with a pointed tip, which might make them lanceolate leaves. Could be. They are measuring, I'm going to say, 2.5 inches or 6.5 centimeters long, and I'm trying to find a decent sized one that maybe 1/8 of an inch wide, maybe a couple of millimeters wide. Very, very skinny. As I said, it's been no difficulty. I might have a picture of what it looked like when it first showed up. Maybe, we'll see. It needs a better trellis setup than this, but it got through the winter without even batting an eye. It currently lives in my generic pond and self-watering pot. There are there's just a little bit of emergent roots there, so it has just started to work its way through the wick. It lives on a dresser in the plant room on the south wall adjacent to a south-southeast facing window, so it gets a tiny little bit of direct sun in the morning, in the early morning, literally not more than 10 or 15 minutes. And then it gets the bright light from the Hoya room. No difficulties, no drama, no trauma, no problems. This one showed up just about, well, it's been here for a couple years. I don't think I have a note. Was I being good then? Oh, come on. I told you it needs a better trellis. That's on the list for tomorrow. So it's probably been here at least 2 years. It was a little sluggish to get settled, but once it was settled, it just started growing. It's done really well. I think it's neat. It fits the portfolio, the description for this video. So yeah, again, if you're into that threadleaf Hoya bit, this is one to definitely look for. And it's good to have them. I mean, you can't have all big round leaves. You need some skinny ones. You need some thread-leafed ones too, at least I think you do, to make a really interesting collection. So, and this is another one that you wave in people's faces when they tell you that all Hoyas look alike. Again, this one's been really no trouble at all. It's growing really well. There's new growth on the ends of all the vines. So that's very cool. Another one, if you're looking for thread leaf, here you go. This is Hoya stenophylla, and this one came from Plants Wake You Up. It's time for questions from the comments. And the first couple of questions come from Coastal Life R9J, who asked, if you could go over your fertilizing routine, that would be great. And so I can. I don't actually have a fertilizing routine because almost all of my plants are in self-watering pots. And the vast majority of them are in an inorganic mix. I use a nutrient solution. I use the Flora series from General Hydroponics. I'm not endorsing it or recommending it. It was simply the one I started with and the one I'm most familiar with. There are a couple of other hydroponic nutrient solutions available. This is just the one I know. So because they're mostly in inorganic and in self-watering, they all get that nutrient solution every time they get watered. So my fertilizing routine is my watering routine. The system I use has three parts. One of them contains micronutrients. The other one is targeting for foliar growth, and the other third is targeting for bloom growth. I usually include a little bit, like half or 3/4 dose of Pure Crop in the liquid as a prophylactic, a preventative for things that like to suck on my plants. I have no scientific evidence that says that that's beneficial, and the Pure Crop can be expensive, but it seems to be working. That's, it's probably a post hoc fallacy, but it seems to be working. So my plants get fertilized all the time, continually, because they get that nutrient solution. And because I'm sort of lazy, once I mix up, because I mix that nutrient solution up at like 2 gallons at a time, once I start watering with it, I just give everything that stuff. Even the things that are growing in regular soil-based, peat-based mixes. And that's not any of all my Hoyas and my dischidia and most everything else does not grow in a peat-based or soil-based mix. I have some spathiphyllum that do. I have one alocasia that does, that I've had for years, and I just don't want to change it around. Most everything else grows in inorganic or an organic self-watering setup. So that's what I use for fertilizing. So they get fed all year round, constantly. Same strength, everything else. And Coastal Life R9J also asks, would you go over what you do for flat mites? I would greatly appreciate it. So I'm not an expert on this, but this is what I did. And I'm just going to give you that. I used the sulfur fungicide from Bonide. And here's why I did what I did. My understanding is that flat mites have a 28-day growth cycle until they reach adulthood. And the sulfur fungicide will not kill them until they reach adulthood. It doesn't have any effect on the eggs or the pupae, larvae, or whatever other stages are involved in it. So mix it up with water according to the directions on the package. I would suggest wearing a mask when you mix it up because the powder is very, very fine and can get airborne very easily, and you don't need to be inhaling that. And I would recommend gloves when you're mixing it up because Once you get that sulfur smell in your skin, it's really difficult to get it out, and you don't need to do this and just smell sulfur for the next 4 or 5 days. So mix it up in some kind of spray and spray your plant. Take the plant, spray the top of the leaves, spray the underside of the leaves, spray the vines, spray everything down to the ground, and then let it dry. And then if you're going to leave the sulfur on, because the sulfur does kill the adult flat mites on contact, but like I said, it doesn't kill the other stuff. If you're going to leave the sulfur on, which is what I did, then you can go back and respray it every 2 weeks. But you need to keep doing this for 4 to 6 weeks. 6 weeks would be better. Because if you start treating on day 1, eggs that were laid that day will not become adults for 28 days. So I would suggest treating every couple of weeks for 6 weeks, because that way anything that's laid on day 1 of treatment will have already become an adult and will have been killed by the time the 6 weeks are up. If you're going to treat them and then rinse it off, then treat them every week. Because flat mites are just nasty, evil creatures. There's probably some use for them in the whole scheme of things. I would like to think they provide food for something else. But now there are a couple, people also use beneficial insects. I had already started treating with sulfur by the time I learned about the beneficial insects. So any sulfur that was left on the plants would have killed the beneficial insects as well. So you might need to make this call before you get started, but that's what I did. If you get some of the sulfur on your hands, lemon juice, real lemon juice, not the stuff in the bottle, but like cut a lemon in half and squeeze the lemon juice over your hand. That will help get rid of the smell. But yeah, that's what I've been keeping an eye on that's how I've been treating the flat mites. Once you get them pretty much cleared up, I would always work on the assumption that you're not going to get them all. So you might have to retreat every so often. I've had to retreat once in the last 2 years since I did the first initial treatment. So you might have to do it again. If you notice that your plant is exhibiting symptoms of, stunted growth, no new growth, you get that crusty looking bit on some of the leaves, yeah, you hit it with the sulfur treatment. Ideally, if you're going to spray the sulfur, you should take it outside. Not all of us have that option. But what you can do is take it in the tub or the shower. I would still put the mask on because you don't need to be inhaling those droplets. Keep shaking the bottle, shake, because the sulfur does settle out readily. You can also, if you've got a small plant, take a watercolor paintbrush and dip it in the mixture and paint it directly onto all of the plant. Make sure you get the underside of the leaves, the petioles, the vines, the whole bit. And stick with it. You're looking at, if you've got a serious infestation, you're looking at 4 weeks minimum. 4 weeks minimum. But I would go 6 weeks. So that's what I did. And it has worked so far. Hope that helps. Now we have one more question, and this is from Iwo Wu, who asks, how many hours do you keep your grow lights on daily? And I keep them on for 12 hours a day. I could go longer, but there's enough grow lights in the Hoya room that room is kind of bright. Matter of fact, it's like my refuge in the wintertime because it's like 72 and sunny in there all winter. So I find 12 hours works really well, especially since I don't have super strong bulbs. But that seems to work for me. They're all on timers because I can't be going in and turning stuff on and off. So yeah, that's what I do in terms of grow lights. So I hope that was all helpful. And now the question from the comments. And this one is simple, based upon today's theme. What threadleaf Hoyas do you have in your collection? And if you don't have any, which ones are you interested in? Yeah, just not even including the ones I've done, not limited to the ones I showed you. There are others out there. So yeah, in the comments below, let us know. Threadleaf Hoyas. what you got, what you want. And we'll see what kind of discussion that sparks. And as always, I'd like to thank you for choosing to spend a little bit of your time with me this week's end. Please remember to click the thumbs up like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell, and if you're on a mobile device, when you've finished watching and adding any comments or questions, click on the hype button. All of those things help convince YouTube that my videos are popular and that people like watching them, and that YouTube should suggest them to other people. A lot of the products that you've seen me use are available through my Amazon storefront. There's a link in the description to the storefront, or you can scan this QR code with the camera on your phone to visit the storefront. I receive a small commission on the sales. It doesn't increase your price whatsoever, and it's a great way of helping support the channel by buying things you might buy anyway. I have a relationship with Sansi Corporation if you're in the market for grow lights. There's a link in the description to their website. You can click this QR code with the camera on your phone, and if you use this discount code at checkout, you'll receive a 30% discount from the prices you find there. I've been really happy with my Sansi grow lights. I'm starting to look around for another one to help take care of the other plants I'm growing currently. They were a big help this winter, and I think you'll find them reasonably priced and very dependable. If you'd like to support the channel directly, there's also a link in the description to my Buy Me a Coffee page, or you can scan this QR code to visit the Buy Me a Coffee page. If you'd like to work through YouTube, you can click on, it's down here, on the thanks button, and YouTube handles all of the processing for the thanks button. I'm going to post links to a couple more videos that you might find entertaining, educational, or just something to have on in the background while you're doing plant chores. And please enjoy the rest of your week's end.